time he was called the Michael Jordan of gaming, okay? So tonight, because of his many accomplishments in gaming and his legacy that has helped push the entire esports industry forward, especially with us at id, with Doom and Quake, it's very exciting for us to have Dennis Thresh Fong here. Yes. Dennis will become the second player ever to be inducted into the Esports Hall of Fame. So let's roll the video.
In the West, if you're talking about esports, their first game that really started it was Quake. Good Quake match really did feel like visceral, very kind of direct combat between two people.
Even just from a technological standpoint, it pioneered a lot of the aspects which obviously were very key to games.
It was really the first arena shooter that was truly 3D.
There's a lot more potential for skill and a lot more potential for people to express themselves and explore the game world.
It enabled the creation of things like the rocket jump, bunny hopping. All of these kind of things didn't exist before Quake.
Map control became a really big factor where players could move around very, very quickly.
Quake has not only the most unique movement, but I think actually the most difficult and varied movement.
The weapons were kind of in balance, right? There was really only the rocket launcher and the lightning gun that really mattered. And that's part of what made it fun.
Quake is truly one of those milestone games in esports. Not many other games, except for maybe StarCraft Brood War, have a legacy to the same degree. Going to QuakeCon, you become a part of that history that dates back to the Stone Age almost.
So I think Thresh was the first ever esports player who could be categorized as the mastermind player. And it's no exaggeration to say he was essentially years ahead of his time.
How many people today in esports could say that they're not losing to anybody in practice? It's absolutely unheard of.
Never had plans to be a pro gamer. There was, really no such thing. I went from just a kid playing games to being sponsored and making $100,000, $150,000 a year.
If anybody knows Thresh, then they know that he won a Ferrari.
Easily the most memorable moment of my career. The irony, of course, is I think I was like 17 at the time. John Carmack's like, dude, how are you getting this car home? I was like, I have no idea. Back when I was playing, people would use like ESDF and the arrow keys and like all sorts of weird stuff. I happened to adopt WASD.
And he was the first player to be known to use WASD.
He had this mystique around him that people had to come up with all these crazy theories like, oh, I heard he just bans his opponent from using a certain type of mouse and he won't even start the game until it's a certain time of day that only he plays that. All these like ridiculous like urban legend stories that could never have actually been true. But that's what people had to rationalize to know how this guy won every tournament and always was there in the clutch moment.
The Thresh style of play was really about control.
But his logic was if I have the lead and like a cushion, like 3 or 4 kills, and I have weapons and I'm in control, I will only ever fight you when it's to my advantage.
I can always predict what my opponents were doing. People used to call it Thresh ESP.
Thresh was a guy that never wanted to be in a position where he had to rely on aim. Thresh would win by depriving his opponent of options.
If you have to jump off a ledge and do a 180 and, rail him in the head, you probably did something wrong. I didn't really care if I racked up 50, 60, 70 in terms of the score. All I cared about was the win.
It's not untrue to say that Thresh influenced all of esports. Came out and became the first true great of his age.
You actually see the seed going through the other great champions, through your Fatality, 0-4, Rafa, Cooler, Cypher, all these like Mount Rushmore type names in Quake. They can all be traced back to this lineage of like the idea of the great champion, who isn't the champion just because he had the best aim or he had a fantastic day in his life at a tournament. It's the guy who's the well-rounded guy, who beats all his rivals, finds a way to return to the top if he loses, and he does it not just with his skill but with his mind.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's honestly an honor to be here. I I think it's quite fitting that I'm at QuakeCon, what is it, the 20th QuakeCon ever? Kind of makes me feel old, honestly. But actually, it's a pretty funny story. So I actually just learned this right before I walked on stage. So a lot of people say that me winning the Ferrari in 1997 put esports on the map. But I just learned, literally, that Tim Willits is the one that actually designed the map that I won the Ferrari on. So I guess technically he put the map on esports. So pretty freaking cool. It's crazy that it took me 20 years to learn that. Look, when I was younger, esports really wasn't a thing. I dreamed that one day there would be millions of people that would be interested in watching people play video games. So it's pretty amazing to see kind of where esports has come, how far it's come. And obviously it's got a very bright future ahead. I really only have one ask of esports, which is that I wish that there was a true deathmatch shooter that was popular in esports. So hopefully Quake Champions will bring a dueling kind of esport back to its glory days. Last thing I want to say is, obviously I think esports has a really, really bright future. And I'm humbled that, kind of the Hall of Fame has selected me to be part of this because, really what it means to me, and it really does mean the world to me, that my small contribution to the birth and growth of esports will be remembered in the future. So thank you so much, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our casters for match 1, Jahar and DDK.